Tea friends, what's going on? I appreciate the kind words, Mr. Adams. Very nice of you. This is a green tea called Thousand Hills Green from RAKKASAN. It is Rwandan. So excited, not excited to try this one. It's the first one that seems a bit suspect. There are, I don't know if you'll be able to see it on camera, but there are tons and tons and tons of twigs in this particular brew. And looks like the leaves are cut up quite a bit, so I doubt this was hand-picked. Usually the twigs give a very like minty sort of flavor, so let's see what happens. Yep, just like I expected. It's a very minty, not quite mint tea, but almost very close to mint tea. The flavor of the tea is sort of in the background though, and it is interesting, which really disappoints me because I can tell that if this were just the leaves, it may have some really interesting flavors and everything in there. Not bad at all, just like full of twigs and it really hides the flavor of the tea. So I don't know if that was done on purpose or if it's just because it's machine cut. I doubt you can tell by looking at the bag here. I really wasn't even able to tell, honestly, when I first opened it up. It wasn't until I saw the cold brew, because it looks like just like tightly rolled leaves, but yeah, as soon as they all kind of unfurled in the water, you could tell right away. It's like almost all sticks and twigs. But let's see what we get out of the hot brew. Maybe I will be pleasantly surprised. The dry leaf is sweet, and it didn't have any like very green notes or anything. So I don't know if this is going to end up being something that I keep, but you know, I'm really happy, honestly, that these guys exist to allow me to try so many different teas from different countries on one website. That's really cool, you know, it really is. And so what I'm hoping to do is, you know, just kind of expand my knowledge on tea, but also maybe find something that really knocks my socks off, and then I'll go try the same tea from different vendors maybe to see if everything holds true. There is and I did eat before doing this, and so it's hard to know if this is all the tea or if I'm getting some savory notes from my hand, but there's a weird something. It's like a creamy something vibe going on, but there's this weird savory note. And if it is the tea, then it's gotta be almost I want to say spoiled, but not spoiled, just like not not super fresh green leaves. The other thing to note is that from my recollection, I'll have to go back and look and see for sure. I don't think the site mentions much about picking dates or anything like that. I think in some cases they do talk about, at least where the tea was sourced from, which is really cool. But, if it's green tea, but it's also 3 years old, then it may be why I'm getting that, like, I want to say musty, but it's not body odor. You know what I'm saying? It's just, you can tell that it's old, But again, I don't know if that's true. Maybe it's just this particular tea, maybe it was roasted in some way or something. And again, you can kind of see that, like, you can't really tell that there's a lot of stems in there. Like, see, grab that one and looks like a stem. There's no leaf or anything on it. But yeah, you gotta look really close. It's mostly it's mostly sticks. I remember years ago, I did order some twig tea. I forget what it's called. I think it's called bancha maybe, or something like that. I think it was from a Japanese vendor, if I'm not mistaken. But it is a thing, to just brew the stems. I wasn't a fan of it. I can't even tell you, like, what it tasted like. It was so long ago. But I do know, just based on experience, that usually when a material is, like, really twig and stick heavy, it's almost always like a minty sort of flavor, which isn't bad, like, I actually like mint tea, but it's just, like, I'm drinking this purposely because I want to taste something different, right? And so if it tastes like something I've already had, like, what's the point, but this, I don't like the aroma. There's something up with it. There's just something up with it. I don't know what. Really pretty blue, sort of a jade green. I'd be really curious to see what the umami is on this thing. And we're talking about Rwanda, which has some pretty famous mountains. Yeah, a little bit of umami. It's not quite a sencha, but very close. Yeah, a little bit of bitterness. Yeah, a little bit of bitterness, but not anything, too crazy. Actually, I'd say it's what you want in a green tea as far as bitterness goes. It does kind of linger on my tongue a little bit. No real flavor profiles that I can pick out other than, sort of the, like I said, green, umami, spinach, like flavor. But it's strong, which, now that I think about it, may be why they went so heavy on the twigs. I mean, maybe it's done on purpose, because I have a feeling that if this were just the leaves, it'll probably be so freaking strong and so bitter that it just won't be very great. And I don't have a map of Rwanda in my mind at the moment, but I think Rwanda is fairly close to the equator. And so, you know, unless the tea is grown really, really high up, and I'm not sure the mountains in Rwanda go up that high, we're talking about low elevation tea in a hot environment. So it's probably like very bitter on its own. The only other tea that I've had from Africa is a Kenyan purple tea, which I really, really enjoy. And I've actually tried to make a video of the Kenyan purple tea, but I think every time I try, something comes up. But it's a very interesting tea that not a lot of people know about, and it's very hard to get actually. But there is one lady or couple, not sure which, but I know the lady. She's from, I want to say Australia or something like that. Anyway, it's really cool. She grows tea on Mount Makenya, and Mount Makenya is the tallest mountain in Kenya, but it's also like a religious site. Okay, so she grows tea up there. Now, because it's close to the equator, because it's a hot climate, and because it's such high elevation, the tea takes on a purple color to block out the sun's UV light. Okay, so it's a purple tea, but very strong, very bitter. You have to flash brew it. But it's really cool because the brew is purple, and that's you know, I love it. And they actually say on the packaging that, like, supposedly it has some of the same antioxidants as blueberries and so forth. Either way, I just think it's a really cool tea, and any opportunity I have to get it, I definitely take it, just because it's something. Like I said, it's something different. And again, I really like the fact that with this particular purple tea, like, you got to be on your game. You cannot play around. Like, if you let it steep for like even 5 seconds longer than necessary, you're drinking straight up medicine. It's almost undrinkable. You know, you got to really be on your game. Like, you cannot play it off. I don't like the aroma of this tea. I really don't. It's I think it's old, but it's not bad though. It's really not. You know, it is very close to essential. It really is. And personally, you know, it kind of has that cachet. Still too hot. Of being an African tea, which, you know, there ain't many. I think I heard once before about some tea being grown somewhere in South Africa. I haven't had it, but that's just something that I think I read a long time ago. But Kenya, for sure, definitely has a tea culture. They primarily drink chai, which I love, and they use the Kenyan black tea to make their chai. And again, just really strong black tea, but man, you put the spices in there and the milk and put it on the stove, and you let that tea cook, add some sugar, and it is the best thing, like, for real. If you ever meet any Kenyans, ask them for chai. It's like a cultural thing where they almost have to accept and brew chai for you, especially if you come to their home. And if they don't, then you have the right to scold them, because every good Kenyan knows that you always offer chai, and especially if a guest asks for it, like, you gotta give it to them. But they also have commodity purple tea in the Kenyan grocery stores, which that stuff is, like, again, super strong purple liquor, but low quality leaf, just because it's commodity. Like, it's cut up by a machine, and it's just not great. But this company called, I think, Gold Rock or Masai Coffee or something like that, they do like hand-picked Kenyan purple tea grown on Mount Makenya, and it's really cool. But again, like I said, it's hard to get. They do have a website. But the best way to get it, honestly, is just to go to the airport there in Nairobi and buy it yourself. And so I just think that's really cool to have something like that in your tea cupboard, you know, in your arsenal of teas. It's just, I don't know why I keep smelling it. It's just horrible. All right. So this one is much cooler water. And you can tell it's like much lighter color. I don't think anything is like wrong with it. You know, if it smelled like sickening, then I won't drink it. It's not worth it. I just think it's kind of old. Is all. Which, you know, bless their hearts, man. Like that, I'm sure that's one of the, and this is something that I'm curious to talk to a producer and vendor about as well. It's like, what do you do with old inventory? Now, we all understand that like pu'er ages, so that's not a big deal as long as you have the storage. But when you're talking about green teas, like typically after like a year or two, you know, I don't know if they're much good after that. So the cooler temperatures, it takes down, you know, all the bitterness. There's still some umami there. Now it's sort of nutty, which I really like in a green tea. It doesn't taste like anything is wrong with it. It really doesn't. Again, it is a very straightforward green tea. If I could say anything that is different about it at all, I'll say that there is this specificity in the nuttiness. You know what I'm saying? It is nutty, but it is a very distinct type of nut. You know, and I'm not gonna even try to figure out what nut it is, but it is something different for sure. Now I feel bad about not looking up the information on this particular tea, because I'm pretty sure they did say something about it on their site, but I'm gonna go back and look and see what it says. But I have to imagine, you know, it's Rwandan mountains, and even if not, like, I doubt it's like completely sea level. It's pretty good. You know, I keep going back to the Hawaiian green tea, and yeah, it doesn't beat that at all. You know, and hey, listen. At the end of the day, I'm an American, and I'm really, really happy, really, really proud that that our American teas are where they are. So I will keep talking about that Hawaiian green until something comes along better. You know what I mean? It's just what it is. Just for fun, I'm gonna brew this up really heavy and just see what happens when I overbrew it, because this tea, I'm certain, can be overbrewed. And again, you look in there and it's hard to tell just how twig heavy this thing is. Like, you can see some kind of floating on the top, but man, it is something like, I'd say almost 60, 70% twig. And again, I think after tasting it that maybe the producer did that on purpose, you know, or maybe that's just like part of their tea culture, tradition, or whatever that works for them because of the material that they're working with, you know? So, yeah, I imagine if it wasn't so twig heavy, it'll probably be near undrinkable. You know, you could probably flash brew it or whatever. And then, of course, the other thing too is because the leaves are really cut up. Is the other thing. So that's also a thing. It makes me wonder how many tea producers are in Rwanda, and you know, what is the market for you know, commodity tea versus I guess we'll say premium tea. Because I'm sure if I went to a Rwandan grocery store, I'm certain I'll find Rwandan tea in there. But it's also going to be commodity. Sure of that. And I keep smelling it. It's just, you know what, it's a habit. But I also want to know what it smells like. Yeah, there's something weird going on. And I'm getting a boost of energy too. I feel it, man. And that's only after 2 infusions and a little bit of the cold brew. And it is going to my head, but I feel it also kind of swirling around in this area too. So it's a little different feel. It's just a straight up body high versus head high. But I'm definitely high, no question about it. All right, so this one, about as dark as the first infusion. And I'm not even paying attention to how long I'm brewing this thing for. I'm just trying to overbrew it to see what happens.